My husband joked that he settled for me during his birthday speech. Everyone laughed except me. Hey Reddit, I'm not even sure where to begin. It feels like my entire marriage shifted overnight, and I don't know if I'm overreacting, or if I've finally woken up to something I should have seen a long time ago. I'm Leland, 39F, and I've been married to Owen, 42M, for almost 8 years. We met through mutual friends, dated for 2 years, and when he proposed, I thought I had won the lottery. Owen was the kind of guy everyone gravitated toward, charming, confident, always the life of the party. He had this effortless way of making people feel important, like he could see through them in a way no one else could. I was never someone who needed to be the center of attention. I've always been more reserved, preferring deeper one-on-one conversations over big social events. But Owen made me feel seen. He made me feel like I was the most special person in the room, even when he was surrounded by people who adored him. At least that's what I thought. Looking back, I wonder if I mistook charm for something deeper. If I fell in love with how he made me feel in the moment, without really paying attention to how he treated me over time. But I'll get to that. This all started last weekend. It was Owen's birthday, and as always, he wanted to go big. He doesn't do quiet dinners or small gatherings. He wanted a full-blown celebration. A private room at a high-end restaurant, over 30 people, an open bar. His parents were there, my parents, his 2 brothers, my sister, plus a mix of friends from different parts of our lives. It was exactly the kind of event where Owen thrived. I spent weeks planning it. I made sure the venue was perfect. The menu included all his favorites, and the decorations struck the right balance, special, but not overdone. He didn't ask me to do all of that, but I wanted to. That's what you do when you love someone, right? The night started off well. People were drinking, laughing, catching up. Owen was in his element, moving from conversation to conversation, soaking in the attention. I stayed mostly with my sister and a few close friends, enjoying myself but also keeping an eye on everything to make sure it all ran smoothly. Then, after dinner, someone tapped their glass, calling for a speech. Owen, of course, stood up immediately. He loved giving speeches, any excuse to hold a room, to make people laugh, to be at the center of everything. I remember watching him, smiling, expecting the usual heartfelt, slightly tipsy speech. He always gave something about gratitude, about how lucky he felt to have such amazing people in his life. And for the first few minutes, that's exactly what he said. Then he turned to me. And of course, I have to thank my beautiful wife, Leland, he said, raising his glass in my direction. I smiled, ready for the sweet words I thought were coming. Then he smirked. The most patient woman in the world. I mean, let's be honest, I definitely settled. Laughter. Real, genuine laughter. His youngest brother nearly choked on his drink. My father chuckled. His mother covered her mouth, shaking with amusement. I felt my face heat up. My stomach tightened. I forced a smile. Owen, either oblivious or just carried by the moment, kept going. I mean, come on, we all know it. I was the catch, right? Leland had to lock me down before someone else did. More laughter. Some exaggerated groans. My sister shot me a look, her smile tight and forced. Someone across the room said, "Wow, dude," in that half-joking, half-uncomfortable tone. I wanted to disappear. Owen must have noticed my expression, because he waved a hand at me, still grinning. "Oh, come on, babe. You know I love you. You got the best deal of your life." That was the moment something in me shifted. Before that, I might have told myself it was just a joke, that it was harmless, that I was overreacting. But when I looked at him, I didn't see a man who had misspoken or realized he'd hurt me. I saw a man who genuinely believed what he was saying. And I realized this wasn't new. It was in the small things, the casual comments over the years about how lucky I was to have him, the way he talked about our marriage, always positioning himself as the prize. The jokes about my cooking, my fashion sense, my quietness at social events, not in a loving, teasing way, but in a way that always suggested I was the one who had to keep up. I had brushed it off for years, but sitting there in a room full of people laughing at my expense, something inside me went quiet. I don't remember much of the rest of the night. I smiled when I was supposed to, laughed at the right moments, acted like everything was fine. But my mind was racing. By the time we got home, Owen was still in a great mood. He dropped onto the couch, kicked off his shoes, and stretched his arms behind his head like a man completely at ease. "Such a great night," he said. "You did an amazing job planning it, babe." I didn't respond right away. I was standing near the bedroom door, my hands gripping the doorknob so tightly my fingers ached. Finally, I asked, "Do you really believe that?" He blinked at me. "Believe what? That you settled?" Owen laughed like it was ridiculous that I was even asking. "Oh, come on, Lillian. You know I didn't mean it like that. It was a joke. But do you believe it?" He sat up, exhaling sharply. "Lil, don't do this. It was just a speech. Everyone was having fun. You're making it into a thing when it's not a thing." I didn't say anything else. I just nodded and went to bed. But I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, feeling like something was tightening around my chest. And sometime in the middle of the night, as Owen snored beside me, I made a decision. I didn't cry. I didn't have some dramatic emotional breakdown. I just got up, grabbed a suitcase, and started packing. I moved quietly, carefully. I took only what I needed: my ID, my credit list, cards, a few changes of clothes. I left my wedding ring on the dresser. Then I grabbed my keys, stepped outside, and called for a ride. I went to a hotel and booked a room. My phone was buzzing nonstop with messages from Owen. The first ones were casual. "Babe, where are you?" "Hey, did you go somewhere?" Then, when I didn't respond, they turned panicked. "Lil, this isn't funny. Call me now." I sat on the stiff hotel bed, staring at my phone as the notifications kept piling up. Each vibration sent a ripple of anxiety through my chest, but I didn't open them. Not yet. Outside, the city was quiet. It was late, maybe 2 or 3 a.m., but my mind wouldn't slow down. The reality of what I had just done was starting to sink in. I had left. Just walked out. No confrontation, no explanation. A part of me felt guilty. I could already imagine Owen pacing the house, running his hands through his hair, his frustration boiling over as he tried to figure out what was going on. But another part of me, the part that had been silently shrinking in our marriage for years, felt something else. Something unsettling. Relief. I inhaled sharply, locked my phone, and tossed it onto the nightstand. I needed to think. I needed a plan. I hadn't told anyone where I was. Not my sister, not my parents, not even my best friend, Celeste. If I told anyone, they'd have opinions, advice, warnings. They'd either try to convince me to go back or tell me to lawyer up immediately. And I wasn't ready for either. I just needed space. For the next few hours, I lay awake, listening to the hum of the hotel air conditioning, staring at the ceiling and replaying the night over and over, every laugh, every glance exchanged across the table. The way Owen had spoken about me like I was some lucky admirer who had managed to win him. Maybe he would always thought that. Maybe I'd just been too in love to see it. By the time the sun started to rise, my phone had stopped buzzing. Either Owen had given up for the night or decided to wait me out. I turned onto my side, exhaustion weighing down my limbs, but sleep didn't come. Instead, a new thought crept into my mind, one I hadn't considered until now. What happens next? Leaving in the middle of the night felt like taking control, but now, with morning creeping in, it hit me I had no idea what I was actually doing. I couldn't stay in a hotel forever. I had a job, a house, our house. My clothes, my things, my entire life were still there. What was my next move? As I stared at my phone, debating whether to call Celeste or my sister, my screen lit up again. This time, it wasn't Owen, it was his mother. Of course she was calling. She had always been deeply involved in our marriage, not in an affectionate, motherly way, but in a way that made it clear she believed her son was some rare gift to the world and that I should be endlessly grateful to have him. I let it ring. Then a voicemail notification popped up. Curiosity 1. I pressed play. Lillian, her voice was tight, controlled the way it always was when she was masking irritation. I assume you're finished with whatever childish tantrum this is and you'll be coming home soon. You've embarrassed Owen enough. Call me back. That was it. No concern, no questions. No attempt to understand why I left, just a demand. I exhaled sharply, gripping the phone in my hands. It wasn't surprising. She had always seen me as the background to Owen's life, the person who made things run smoothly so he could shine. She never liked me, but she tolerated me because I made her son happy. Or at least, I had. I deleted the voicemail without a second thought, but the reality was sinking in fast. Owen wasn't going to let this go. He wouldn't accept me walking out without a fight, not because he loved me, but because it would bruise his ego. And his family would make sure I knew exactly what a mistake I was making. I needed a plan. I grabbed my phone and finally did what I should have done hours ago. I texted Celeste. "Are you up?" I waited, anxiety creeping up my spine. I half expected her to ignore me, but within seconds, the typing bubbles appeared.
Oh.
What happened? I hesitated before typing. I left Owen. There was a long pause before she responded. "Where are you? Hotel. Don't tell anyone. I'll be there in 20. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Celeste was the one person I could trust. She had never liked Owen, not openly, but in the way she always chose her words carefully when talking about him. In the way she never quite laughed at his jokes. In the way she once told me, after too many glasses of wine, that she didn't think he was capable of real kindness. I hadn't believed her then. I wasn't sure I was ready to believe her now. I stayed sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at my phone even after Celeste's last message. 20 minutes. It wasn't a long time, but it felt like forever when you were stuck in your own head. The hotel room was quiet, except for the faint hum of the air conditioning, and I felt strangely detached, like I was floating outside my own body, watching everything unfold from a distance. I glanced around the room, my suitcase sitting half open on the floor. I hadn't brought much, just enough to get by for a couple of days. But the reality was settling in fast. I didn't have a clear plan beyond leaving. I ran a hand through my hair, exhaling slowly. Owen hadn't tried calling again, but I knew it was only a matter of time. He wasn't the type to just let things go. He liked control, even if he didn't always realize it. A knock at the door pulled me out of my thoughts. 3 short, sharp taps. I hesitated before getting up and looking through the peephole. Celeste stood there, hands tucked into the pockets of her oversized sweater, scanning the hallway. I unlocked the door and let her in without a word. She stepped inside, taking a quick glance around the room before turning to me, her expression unreadable. "Okay," she said, shutting the door behind her. "Start from the beginning." I sat down on the bed while she took the chair by the window, legs crossed, watching me closely. For a second, I didn't know what to say. It all felt so obvious in my head, but putting it into words that was harder. I swallowed. His birthday party. Celeste nodded like she already knew what happened. I exhaled. He gave a speech. I hesitated, still struggling to say it out loud. He told everyone he settled for me. Like it was a joke. Her jaw tightened, and they all laughed. I looked down at my hands, fingers gripping the blanket. I don't know why that was the moment it hit me, but it did. Celeste didn't say anything right away. She just sat there, her eyes dark with something unreadable. Then she shook her head. "He's always been like this, Lillian." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "You know what I mean." Her voice was calm, steady. "You've always been the one putting in the effort. Always the one adjusting, making. Sure, he's happy, making excuses when he says something awful. And he never even notices." I wanted to argue, to tell her it wasn't that simple, but the words caught in my throat. Because deep down, I knew she was right. I'd spent years convincing myself that Owen's jokes were just jokes, that his offhand comments didn't mean anything, that it was normal for relationships to have moments like this. But now I wasn't sure anymore. Celeste sighed, rubbing her temples. "Okay, what's the plan?" I hesitated. "I don't know. Do you want to leave for good?" she asked, her voice careful. "Or are you waiting to see what he does?" That was the real question, wasn't it? Because as much as I wanted to say I had made up my mind, there was a part of me that was still waiting. For what? An apology? An explanation? Some proof that I hadn't wasted years of my life on someone who never really saw me? "I don't know yet," I admitted. Celeste studied me for a moment, then nodded. "Okay, then first. Things first, we get you somewhere safe." "My place." I hesitated. "Would he show up there?" "Not if he values his ability to walk," she said flatly. That actually made me smile. Just a little. I nodded. "Okay, your place." Celeste didn't waste any time. She grabbed my suitcase, slung her purse over her shoulder, and gestured for me to follow. "Come on," she said. "We'll figure out the rest later." I hesitated for only a second before stepping out into the hallway. The air felt lighter outside that hotel room, like I'd left part of the weight behind. As we drove, Celeste kept the conversation light, mostly talking about work, mutual friends, anything that didn't involve Owen. I appreciated it. I wasn't ready to rehash everything just yet. By the time we reached her apartment, I was exhausted emotionally, physically. Every part of me felt drained. "You can crash in the guest room," she said, locking the door behind us. "And before you say anything, no, I don't mind. Stay as long as you need." I murmured a thank you, but she waved it off. "Just get some sleep, we'll talk in the morning." I tried. I really did. But sleep didn't come easily, because I knew this wasn't over. The next morning, I woke up to a storm of messages, not from Owen this time, but from mutual friends, his brother Joel, and of course his mother. I didn't open any of them. Not yet. But the subject lines and previews told me enough. Joel's message was short and condescending. "You're blowing this out of proportion." A so-called friend, Laura, wrote, "Owen's a mess. Just talk to him." And then his mother's, "I always knew you were selfish, but I never thought you'd humiliate my son like this. You'll regret it." I stared at my screen, gripping the phone so tightly my knuckles ached. Selfish. Humiliating him. I exhaled slowly, forcing the anger down. I could feel the old version of myself creeping back in, the one who would have second-guessed, who would have wondered if they were right. But I wasn't that person anymore. Owen had humiliated me for years in ways I hadn't even fully acknowledged until now. And the worst part? He didn't even realize it. He thought I would always be there. Always smoothing things over. Always staying no matter what he said or did. He was wrong. Celeste wandered into the kitchen, yawning as she poured herself a cup of coffee. "How bad is it?" she asked, nodding toward my phone. "Predictably awful," I said. She rolled her eyes. "Of course it is. They're panicking because they lost their favorite doormat." I snorted. "I don't think I was ever their favorite anything." "Fair point." She took a sip of her coffee and leaned against the counter. "So what's next?" That was the question, wasn't it? And suddenly I knew exactly what I needed to do. I looked up at Celeste, a slow smile spreading across my face. "I think it's time Owen really understands what he lost." Over the next few days, I kept quiet. I ignored Owen's messages. I didn't respond to his family or friends. I let them stew, and Owen, he did exactly what I expected. At first, he was apologetic, begging, saying he didn't mean it like that, that I was overreacting. When that didn't work, he shifted. He got angry, accused me of being dramatic, selfish, cruel for walking out like that. Then came the guilt tripping, the "after everything I've done for you" messages, the ones designed to make me question myself. But I didn't, because while he was too busy panicking about losing me, I was preparing. I met with a lawyer quietly, efficiently, and while I was at it, I had my financials reviewed. See, Owen had always been the breadwinner, and he never let me forget it. He made me feel like I needed him, that I could never leave because I'd struggle without him. But what he didn't realize, I had savings, investments, and more importantly, I had something he never had: patience. Owen had always been careless with money. I, on the other hand, had always planned for a future where I might need to stand on my own. And now, that future was here. By the time I finally responded to Owen, I was ready. I agreed to meet him at our house, not because I wanted to reconcile, but because I wanted to watch the reality sink in. He was sitting on the couch when I walked in, running a hand through his hair, looking exhausted. When he saw me, relief flooded his face. "Lillian," he said, standing up. "Thank God." "Listen," I held up a hand, cutting him off. "I'm not here to talk about us, Owen." Confusion flickered across his face. Then why? I pulled a folder from my bag and set it on the table. His eyes darted to it, then back to me. "What is this?" "Divorce papers," I said, my voice steady. His face went pale. "What? You said you settled for me, right?" I tilted my head. "So I'm fixing that for you." Owen blinked, like he couldn't quite process what I was saying. "Lillian, come on. You don't mean this." "I do." I gestured toward the papers. "I've already spoken to a lawyer. You'll find that everything is more than fair, more than generous." Owen opened and closed his mouth, struggling to find words. "You're really doing this? Just like that?" I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Just like that." He stared at me, something ugly flashing in his eyes: anger, panic. He had never actually thought I would leave. Not really. And that was the moment he knew he had lost. I turned to leave, pausing at the door just long enough to glance back at him. "By the way," I said, my voice calm, "if you or your family try to make this difficult, just remember, I know where your skeletons are buried." His face twisted. He knew exactly what I meant. And with that, I walked out the door without looking back. Update: it's been a couple of weeks since I left, and honestly, I feel lighter, freer. Like I can finally breathe without constantly worrying about Owen's moods or his next backhanded comment. He, on the other hand, is not handling it well. After the initial shock wore off, he started reaching out again, not with apologies but with demands. First, he wanted to talk things through like adults, which really meant trying to convince me to drop the divorce. Then, when I refused, he got angry. He told me I was ruining his reputation and making a huge mistake. His mother has also been relentless, sending me long messages about how I'm throwing away a good man and humiliating the family. Apparently, it's my fault for not being grateful enough. Meanwhile, some of our mutual friends have started taking sides. A few have reached out to tell me they support me. Others not so much. I've gotten messages calling me dramatic and cold for leaving so suddenly. As if this decision was sudden. As if I hadn't spent years being slowly worn down by his words. So, Reddit, I have to ask, am I the a-hole for leaving without a word? For refusing to entertain his excuses? For finally choosing myself after years of being treated like an afterthought? I'd love to hear your thoughts.